Hola guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Roxanne. If it's your first time here, then welcome. Today I want to talk to you guys about the try a chapter book tag that I am doing. I am focusing only on Latinx books, Latinx reads, and it has been really fun. I want to introduce you guys to the books that I have chosen and tell you a little bit about what I thought of the first chapter and the order in which I am going to read them. I'm going to read all of these. A lot of the try a chapter book tags that I see are either to get rid of books or to decide what to read next. I read it more because these are the books that I have chosen to read next, but I want to talk to you guys about the order in which I'm going to read them, and also I did also want to see if there were any that I just maybe didn't get along with and was planning to get rid of. But I have decided to keep all of these and read them next, and I'm going to talk to you guys about what I thought. So the first is a Latin American classic. It's Like Water for Chocolate by Laura Esquirel. This is a magical realism story about this is told by a great niece about her great aunt Tita, who has this sort of affinity for cooking and the way in which food has affected her life is very powerful and started since she was a baby, and it's really about food and family and the expectations of women in families and sort of the things that the way things have always been done in Latin American families. And I watched the movie as a high school student and really enjoyed it, and it's about time that I get around to the book. I loved the first chapter. I was going to listen to this on audiobook, and you'll see in the little clip of when I was reading it that I was very upset to find out that the audiobook was abridged. I think that is literally the worst thing you can do with an audiobook. Why would you spend money to create and produce an audiobook that is abridged, isn't even the full book? It blows my mind. I will never understand it. But I did read the first chapter. It starts with a little list of ingredients, and then it talks in the chapter it talks about the item that the list of ingredients is for. So the list of ingredients for chapter 1 is for Christmas rolls, and so it talks about it during the chapter, and it's just an introduction to the family. It's an all-female family, which is I always love stories that center around families that have a lot of women. My dad was the only man in our household, and so I really relate to them. I loved it. I thought it was it felt very familiar. Like it felt very Latin American, and I don't really know exactly how to describe that, but that's exactly what it felt like. It just felt very familiar, and like I could just sense everything that she was writing. Another one of my picks was a young adult fantasy new release for this year called Nocturna by Maya Motain, and this was quite interesting. It was a pretty quick read, as YA fantasies can be, and it introduces us into this world. Look at that map. I mean, it's beautiful. It introduces us to the world and a little bit to the magic system. There's a lot of Spanish words, which I love, and I don't, if I remember correctly, the only things that are italicized are the actual sort of spells, not any other Spanish words that are said, which I think was really awesome. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed our main character. There's a sort of mystery that has been introduced with regards to his family, so I was very interested. I got invested pretty quickly into this one. I read Bodega Dreams by Ernesto Quiñones. This is a novel about Spanish Harlem, and it felt atmospherically, it was very, very different than any of the other ones that I chose. It was very gritty, it was dark, and the writing really reflected that. And this is just again, it was a very quick introduction into some of the characters and the lifestyle of our main character. It was very gritty, and I am interested in this, and I'm gonna read it. I think it'll be a very, very interesting read, but I wasn't attached to these characters immediately like I was with most of the other books. Then I have The House on the Lagoon by Rosario Ferre. She is a Puerto Rican author born in my hometown of Ponce, so this is already very special to me. This is about a couple living in Ponce. The wife is a historian and starts to write a book about her family and her husband's family and sort of trace them back to their ancestors, but she's apparently not very good at the history, and her husband finds out what she is writing, vehemently disagrees with everything that she's writing and saying, and then decides to write a version himself. So I'm interested to see how reliable these narrators are gonna be. There is going to be, I already kind of get some sense of discussions of patriarchy in the family and in Puerto Rico, and I think there's going to be discussions of race and colonialism. So I am very excited about this one. The writing was very beautiful, very I think the writing in this one of all of them was my favorite and the best.
I believe the shootings are related. Is it true? Yes. What's the new information? We believe they're isolated incidents, and we're looking into the possibility that the last two were copycats.
Then we have With a Flyer on Hine by Elizabeth Acevedo. This book is a young adult contemporary. Elizabeth Acevedo wrote The Poet X, and this is about our young main character, Imani, who is a teenage mom, and it's about her life, going to school, trying to be a mom, trying to balance work and school and life, and growing up very quickly. And she also has this love for food, and I immediately got a lot of like vibes of this one in here. So it'll be interesting to read these close to you know, kind of back to back or around the same time, because I can see how Elizabeth Acevedo was inspired by Laura Esquirel. There are some things on here that I know similar things happen in like Water for Chocolate, like the way that people feel emotions when they eat her cooking, similarly to how they feel emotions or they cry or whatever when they're eating Tita's food. So I kind of see the parallels, which is really interesting, and I kind of see that it's like a nod to this Latin American classic. And then last but not least is Signal to Noise by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is a sort of urban contemporary an urban like fantasy kind of. It's set in 1988 and 2009 in Mexico City. Our main character Meche seems to have some sort of magical abilities that relate to music, which sounds very interesting, and I really enjoyed this one immediately. I thought the first chapter was really funny, and I was immediately gripped as to why she has. So in the first chapter, she's going back home to Mexico City for the first time in a really long time, but she doesn't want to be there. Her father has just died, And so immediately I'm curious as to why she doesn't want to be there. Why does she wait so long to go back? There's some sort of suggestions as to like the way her father used to be, and a lot of things that she might have done back when she was a kid in school. So I think this is just very cool, and it's giving me, I just watched season 3 of Stranger Things, so I don't know if it's kind of like I'm still in that 80s music-y vibe, but I really enjoyed this one. So what I decided to do was that physically I'm going to read this one first. On audiobook, I'm going to read this one first. So whenever I'm like driving or kind of cleaning or anything like that, I'm going to be listening to this one. And then anytime that I have time to sit down and read, I'll be reading this one. Then once I'm done with Signal to Noise, I will read this one physically, because obviously the audiobook is a, you know, horrible atrocity. Then on audio I will read Nocturna, because I chose to read these two on audio first because I think they'll be really quick, and so I'll be able to kind of get these out of the way quickly, and then I can give more time to these two audiobooks, which I think will take a little bit more time, and I'll probably want to read alongside the physical book. So I'm very excited about all of these. I think I'm gonna enjoy all of them. I can't wait to talk about them once I'm done reading them. I'll probably be vlogging them in my weekly vlogs, and I will hopefully be recommending them all to you once fall comes around and we talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. So as always, thank you for watching and for listening. Let me know if you guys have read any of these and what you think, and have a good one.